Hello, and welcome back to the Toy Office. I'm your host, John, and this week I'm going to be reviewing Siege Soundwave and his Micromaster pals, Ravage and Laserbeak. So a little bit of backstory. Soundwave is the Decepticon communications officer who distinguished himself as the baddest baddie with a monotone inflection, and I love him. Starting his distinguished career as a lamppost, this Decepticon deployer has most popular taken the form of a mini-cassette player. There was even a time in the 90s when he became a bat, which transformed into an alligator. Listen, everyone goes through that phase in college, that bat-alligator phase. It's okay, Soundwave. We've all been there. Not everyone has their bat-alligator phase on display behind you, but the real problem I have with your bat-alligator phase, though, Soundwave, is the fact that you're made out of gold plastic in that form, and I literally can't play with you anymore. Or ever, to be honest. The second I took that guy out of the package, his wing cracked. Do have a few of those incarnations ready off camera, and I'm just going to pop them in for you guys real quick. So we'll start out with his G1 iteration, which is pretty close to what we're dealing with here, although a bit more archaic. In the 90s, he became a tank for Machine Wars. Pretty fun toy. Back there is his Beast Wars Mutants form, which is not technically Soundwave, but you know what? He has Soundwave's name, so he's shown up in the video. We've also got the Fall of Cybertron Soundwave, Animated Soundwave, Revenge of the Fallen Soundwave, and for good measure, we got that drone version of Soundwave from Transformers Prime. He has a pretty cool Laserbeak going on his chest there. Generally speaking, Soundwave has been accompanied by smaller robots, being his cassettes in the original series, and now they're Micromasters. They went through a phase where they called deployers, all that good stuff. We've got Ravage on his arm and Laserbeak in his chest. For those of you who don't know, they're old friends from G1. This being Ravage, and this guy is a Laserbeak that I didn't transform. Because I kind of like them a lot, I'm going to roll them into this video. I should note that neither of these two are included with this Soundwave when you buy him at retail. I'm going to make the case right here and right now that if you're going to buy this Soundwave, you should definitely seek out this set. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so these guys are fairly small. They fit in with the whole general Siege gimmick of being able to interact with the 5mm ports, and a Micromaster in this case, or a cassette, or whatever you want to call them, or whatever Hasbro's calling them, this wave, can fit in his chest, and with the press of a button, it can pop out. In the case of these two, they both have the ability to fit in his chest. I just showed you Laserbeak here, just for the sake of argument. There's Ravage. He's got a few more Decepticon tampos on him than Laserbeak, but the two can also peg into the various bots from Siege, or actually, since, Reveal the Shield, I want to say. Most of these guys can be interacted with through these 5mm pegs, because I think there was a whole thing where they added C-clips, and there's a whole story on that. I'll get into it in a video where I'm talking about Reveal the Shield. But we can put these onto various Siege Transformers' arms, their waists, their hands, what have you, to act as like sort of shields, which is what the official card says they do. It kind of looks cool in some cases. I particularly like it on Soundwave, which, obviously they designed it for him because, quite frankly, they are designed for him. But it's not terrible, and if you don't have a Soundwave, you can still get play value out of them, which is nice, but it's not really the reason you're going to be buying these guys. So let's just take Soundwave out of the picture, and let's get into Ravage here for a minute. Our first Micromaster today is Ravage. He's a chubby little interpretation of the sleek G1 Jaguar, but let's be totally honest, it's still way better than the Bay version from 2009. And for those of you who haven't seen the G1 version, he looks like a little bit like this. He'll stand. He sometimes doesn't like to stand because he's literally flat. While not evoking his G1 roots terribly well, I can't say I hate this boy. As a cat dad to an utterly insane black cat who was literally destroying my house as I was writing this write-up for this particular toy, I realize that Ravage is just living his best life in his chunkitude. And quite frankly, I find this guy to be absolutely adorable. The tiny little legs are just so cute. He can do this like little sit thing, and he can move his head around, and oh, he's so cute. But, I mean, I am a little bit of a cat person, so even though he doesn't really look like a cat, the fact that he is a cat kind of tugs at my heartstrings a bit. Whereas this one, he's just sleek and mean. Not that I don't like that, it's a different taste. The paint apps on this guy are fairly well executed, with a really nice silver that accents stuff like his little blaster cannons here, and just kind of rounds out his whole appearance and makes it kind of pop a little bit, to the not-so-great red on his eyes, which quite frankly could have stood to have maybe a little more paint, maybe a little bit of a darker or brighter shade. Not much you can do about that, but you can't say that you don't get your $5 worth for paint app. Frankly, I'm happy with this. There's even a little bit of purple detailing here that is kind of hard to pick up on the camera. That's just absolutely gorgeous, and I love it. Now, in addition to that, he has these really cute little tampagraphs that have the Decepticon logo that I just think this guy's adorable, okay? I don't think he's sleek. I don't think he's imposing, but man, is he cute. In terms of articulation, not really much. The legs can move a little bit. His head has an up and down movement on a hinge, but it's nothing really super dynamic, and you can't get anything really crazy good like you could on the Classics toy or the Masterpiece toy. Because he comes in this form, I'm going to show you guys how to get him in the cassette form you saw earlier. Really simple, actually, so we're just going to tuck these legs in and spin these bits back, like so. Right? So he's got kind of like his legs all broken up. Then we're going to pop his head forward into his chest, so it sits right there. We're going to fold these out like so. Fold these out like so. And then just give it a little bit of a flip. Okay. So now this side's basic. We're not going to worry about that side anymore. Make sure his little cannons are flush against the torso. Make sure the legs are in. And just kind of fold everything into place. And there we go. He's a microcassette now. There's not much to say. He's a microcassette. Of the pair, Laserbeak here is definitely the winner. There's no doubt about it. He's got a fairly intricate paint apps going on his wings that just like really pop with nice silvers, and I think that's a red because this is cast in black. And the backpack has a really nice silver. There's a really good piece of yellow that just absolutely pops on his head. And not only that, but he's got a really nice head articulation that just... You can get some pretty cool poses with him. I mean, he doesn't have any literal articulation on the legs, and his wings are more or less static, but you can't really blame him. He's just iconic, right? He's Laserbeak. And not only that, but this is actually a fairly good representation of Laserbeak in the Cybertronian sense. Get out of there, Ravage. Way better than Ravage was, to be sure. And, like, it feels good. It feels good to look at. It is nice. And not only that, but he actually has a pretty good play mechanic with Soundwave himself. So on Soundwave, we have these little indents here that the feet of Laserbeak are capable of latching onto. So let's just do that real quick. So while it's not perfect, it does hold, and that's important for me. It's really cool because now it's very easy to set up these situations where Laserbeak here has been surveilling, whether it be the dastardly Starscream or that jerk blaster, or, you know, even if it's just those stupid humans, Spike and whatever their names are, because no one really cares. If I did have one thing to complain about on this guy, however, I would say that the marking here for whatever his batch was, that does take away a little bit, and it does make it a little less fun, but not much I can do about that. I should also note that he does have ports on his back here for various effect parts from the Siege line, which I'll show you in a sec. And with minimal effort, now you have a Laserbeak that is streaking across the sky. Very cool. Since you're going to be getting him in this form, if you buy him at retail, let me just show you how to transform real quick. So first things first, we're going to fold this backpack back so it fits flush, like so. Fold in the wings, the head goes back, and then the legs clip out. And there you have it. He's now a cassette. There's literally nothing else I can say about this other than he's a cassette. I love this robot mode. It screams Soundwave in a way that only the Masterpiece or my third-party Legend Scale has. And in every way, it captures the spirit of the original G1 Soundwave. Whether it be the glorious light piping, or as I said, these odd multicolored light things, no detail is too insignificant for this blocky boy. I adore him. He's just so good. But let's get into the articulation. Let's just take off all of his accessories and get those out of the way. And sorry, G1 Soundwave, I think your time's over for this video. So, accessories out of the way. Let's just talk the base figure. First things first, his head is on a ball joint. Really nice. And it has some really wonderful light piping going on. His shoulder has a double swivel with that thing, which is for transformation. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. He has a bicep swivel. Double hinge on the arm, which is kind of nice. The hand can do this. Waist swivel, which is really nice. The hips have these flaps that facilitate deeper movement on the legs, so he can do some pretty good splits. He's got a double swivel action going on the hip joint as well, with a thigh swivel and a hinge on the knee. His ankles have the ability to tilt to get some pretty nice dynamic poses going on. Additionally, like all Siege class guys, he does have pegs on the bottom of his feet to do the whole combine with whatever you want gimmick. This communications officer also has the fun cassette gimmick that I showed you before to interact with his Micromaster pals, which, quite frankly, I generally keep one of them in the chest just because it fills them out a little bit more. In terms of mold detailing, this bot is devastatingly beautiful. The head sculpt is nigh but perfect. I mean, look at that. It's absolutely gorgeous. It perfectly captures the face of this boy, and oh, it's so good. Every limb has exquisite detailing built into the mold. Like you can see here, there's like all these really cool vents and all these really cool pipings. It's evoking this serious IDW vibe, and that's a really good thing because IDW bots look phenomenal. In keeping with his roots, he retains the classic cassette player buttons here. They're not interactable, but they're there, which is cool. There's no reason for this robot to have those, but they still did it, and kudos to you, Hasbro. You did something cool here. And not only that, but inside his little chest cavity here, he's even got this really cool setup where it almost looks like a microcassette player inside the chest. So they didn't have to do that because this is a 2019 toy. They don't need to make it reference the fact that he was originally a microcassette player, but they did. And you know what, Hasbro? Kudos to you. That's really cool. Not to mention, as a standard for probably the last decade of guys with this gimmick, he does have this really cool feature where he's got like a little pointer finger right there, so you can kind of do this, and dude, so cool, so much fun. I should note, however, he does have these little gaps here. I don't really care about them. I know some people do, but whatever. So as per the norm for Siege guys, he does also have these effect part ports, so you can kind of set up different things. He should have one. Yeah, you can use 5mm for these guys. He should have one up here, and one, I think, here. So in terms of accessories, Soundwave comes with 3. He comes with his 2 battery cannons, as you can see here. This one's intended to be shoulder-mounted as a missile launcher, and this one is an homage to his classic missile launcher, like, gun that he comes with. But he also has this weird one, which is effectively a collapsible rifle, and he can hold this, but it doesn't really look good. And it also has this whole thing where you can kind of like plug it together like so. And it creates like a super gun that doesn't really make sense, but whatever. As per the norm, they have the ability to hold the Siege effect parts or plug them onto their tips. Which, honestly, if you're dealing with Siege, you should just assume that that's something you can do. Now, I've been gushing about this guy, but there is an elephant in the room, and that is the fact that they did extremely overzealous battle damage on this guy. His chest plate is totally crunched up. He's got all of these like grayish paint markings. The legs, you're losing detail. It's too much. If it was dialed back maybe 30%, 40%, I'd be okay with it, but it's not perfect. On a shelf, it's not really noticeable, so that's okay, and it doesn't really interfere with how cool the poses that this guy can pull off are, but it definitely is overzealous, and it definitely interferes with some of the best paint detailing I've seen in years on a figure. Like, these bits right here are phenomenal. I would love to get a version of this guy without the scratches and all that good stuff, but whatever. It is what it is. You learn to live with it. All right, so Soundwave, Siege Soundwave, is officially a triple changer. He is an unofficial quadruple changer, which is pretty cool. The 3 modes are the primary battleship mode, a lamppost mode, which is based on his first G1 appearance, and there's a 3rd fan cassette deck mode, which is my favorite mode, but I'll show you that in a second. So to start out, let's transform to the lamppost mode, because we'll actually reach the battleship mode after we finish the lamppost mode. So let's get ready. So first things first, I like to fold the hands away just to get them out of the way, like so. And I also like to pull this bit back and pop the head in there, like so. Then I move down to the legs, flip those in, and we do that twice. Pretty clever little design. It hides it pretty well, actually. Nice work there, Hasbro. Now, for the lamppost mode, we're almost there, actually. It's pretty quick. So we're gonna fold these back. We're gonna move these up because that's just the way I've seen people do it, and I kind of like it. Move those up. And then we're gonna pull his chest out a little bit, like so, because you can see there's a little hinge going on there. And we're gonna just pull that back, fold it over, and there we go. So, the lamppost mode is a fun homage to Soundwave's first on-screen appearance, and it's actually really easy to transform into, as you just saw. I think it took, 30 seconds tops? So, let's just continue on to his battleship mode, or spaceship mode, or whatever they call it. So, first things I'm going to do is rotate the legs like this. You can see that there's a little male-female joint here that these are going to mate into and lock together, like so. I'm going to pull these bits up here because they're on hinges and plug them into these little 5mm ports here. And like that, we have the deck of the spaceship. So we're coming along. We're almost there. So the next bit is, this part always gets me. So first things first, I'm going to pull this down a little bit and pull out this antenna thing, because I always forget to do that, and once you do the transformation, you have to untransform him and bring him back in order to get there. So we're going to take his little backpack bit and move the arms out of the way, and we're just going to pull it up on this hinge and pop it into place like that. All right, so it'll snap into place, and you can kind of hear a little bit of a chunk as it enters, and then we're just going to move this bit up. Be careful here, because you want to have the deck underneath this bit, because otherwise the transformation's going to look weird. So like that, his deck is basically transformed. Now, moving on, we're going to swivel these bits under here. You should note, let's see, there's a little bit of a hole there, and we just clip onto place. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold the arm out and then rotate it this way. There should be a little piece to mate the two parts together, and we'll just fold it like so. Make sure you have these folded out like that. And it's a little tricky to negotiate this, but you just want to kind of slot everything together. It's better than some figures I've seen in the past. And we're going to lay out the remainder of his sleds, and I think we're good. Yep, that's it. That is his battleship mode. Pretty fun. There's a really cool little cockpit thing going on here that I really like. But let's just kind of talk about this mode a little bit. It has some really, really just gorgeous detailing on the deck here, and I absolutely love the way this thing looks. And it's really chunky, so it kind of reminds me of some classic sci-fi cruisers, which is pretty cool, not gonna lie. Something maybe out of Battlestar Galactica, I'm feeling, like a human ship. Something along those lines. Really cool. So Hasbro did something smart here, and they put these ports on the back here so you can kind of set up like ion burns, which is really cool. And I just absolutely love it. And not only that, but because of the way that this is set up, they have these little ports down here too, which allow you to do kind of like a sub-deck laser beam setup going on, which really awesome. But I would be remiss to say if this looks like anything other than Soundwave lying down, because that is literally what this is. Every time I transform into this mode, though, I'm a little more charmed by it, and it grows on me just a little. At least a little. That being said, it's a distant second to my favorite mode. Okay, so we're back in his robot mode here, and I just kind of want to run you through this real quick because, quite frankly, the cassette mode is the coolest mode that this guy can pull off, but that might just be bias, like G1 bias. So let's do this really quick. So similar transformation to what you're doing on the normal transformation. You're going to tuck his feet away first or second or whenever you want to do it. Hands are going to go away like so. And the head is just going to tuck in there. Okay, so we're almost there, actually, believe it or not. So arms, let's just make sure they're kind of pointed back a little bit at like a 15-degree angle. We're going to make sure the legs have this smaller pin facing you. The larger pin you want to be on the backside. And we want to kind of make them do a split on both sides. So now we're going to twist this so the side with the 5mm port is facing outwards, and we're just going to make him do a split with a bit of a tucking his legs behind his head vibe going on there. And like that, we have a cassette deck mode, and we can just load in our favorite tunes. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good right there. At the end of the day, it's literally just him doing the splits, but there's an inherent charm to this mode. It evokes the original G1 toy, and the design punches me right in that old nostalgia button. I wouldn't be surprised if down the line we don't see a retool of this very Soundwave with something like this being in the official transformation, because it strangely works. I like this Soundwave. His alt modes are a mixed bag, but I seldom display my bots in their alt modes. You heard me, Soundwave. Their transformation is actually quite straightforward and has some excellent posability and play features. If you're in the market for a Soundwave for your collection, I cannot recommend this Soundwave enough. At $30, you're getting one of the best representations of the character, period. Like, the only thing that even comes close to this is the Masterpiece, and that's $120. If the paint apps are a little bit too garish for your taste, repro labels and a heavy alcohol scrub might be your friend in this case. Now, if you like this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you like this, feel free to follow me on Instagram for toy pictures at Mew2057, and on Twitter for various hot takes and me complaining about random stuff that happens in my life at JF Dunham. I also do a podcast about cryptids, Cryptopedia, with my friend Brandon. So if you're interested in that, why not give us a listen? It's pretty fun. And as always, I want you to remember, it's okay to bring a toy to work, especially if it's Siege Soundwave. Bye!